Story 1. Battlefield After 1, which was their fifth one. Do not ask. Story 2. Saints Row. I will still play the original games, but the new release, which is a train wreck, even diminishes my enjoyment of the earlier titles. Story 3. EA Sports, it is in the game. Not actually ruined, so much as tried to charge full price again for the same game every year, in the one game where season passes actually make sense. It is a shame there are very few good sports game alternatives as well. Story 4. Not sure many people are aware of the game. Gems of War was a really relaxing and enjoyable match 3 game, with a few in-game purchases that were completely optional. Developers have continuously increased the need for gems and Dragonite to craft powerful weapons and troops. This means pay-to-win players are virtually unbeatable in the player versus player arena. Most new events and extra battle sigils are kept behind a paywall. They have changed the format, and it has gradually gotten worse. Such a shame. Story 5. Frontier Developments ignored repeated user requests about many aspects of the game, and instead removed features that made the game easier and less repetitive, focusing too much on the in-game store. Additionally, they made the gameplay grind much more painful. The game showed promise but ended up being a mostly empty universe or galaxy where players had to play online but rarely encountered other human players. Story 6. The Sims. The Sims always had expansions, but before they felt truly worth it and exciting every time one was released. Now it just feels like a tired, low-effort money grab. Modders are the real saviors of the Sims series. I am forever a Sims 2 fan, though. It is the best in the series hands down for me. Story 7. Overwatch was the first competitive online game I ever took seriously. I stopped having fun near the end of the first Overwatch's life cycle. Then Overwatch 2 killed any interest I had left in the series. Story 8. Rocket League. Selling to Epic Games was a terrible decision. There have been no real updates in years, only cash grab loot boxes in seasons. Story 9. Pokémon Sword and Shield is a mediocre entry and a lackluster game overall in my favorite gaming franchise. I will defend Scarlet and Violet any day, but I would rather move on and forget Sword and Shield. Story 10. The Sims 3 has an open-world concept. The expansion packs increased the game's size significantly, so I had to choose which ones to play with. Story 11. I haven't played Helldivers 2 in a while because of their balancing philosophy. I am really looking forward to hopping back in on September 17th, though, because based on what they have announced, it sounds like they are finally moving in the right direction. Story 12. Any EA-related question? Why did I have to buy the level to play after purchasing the game? Story 13. GTA 5 Online. I played the game both on my PlayStation 4 and on my personal computer. The game on PC with a modification menu is one of the funniest experiences you can have. If you play with friends, you can absolutely spend hours just having great fun, doing silly things with your cars that you can spawn anywhere, planes, and everything else. If you play legitimately, you literally need to treat the game like a job, constantly watching how much money you have. You need to go to specific places to pick up your own cars and everything else. It is simply a complete joke without any kind of fun. Story 14. EverQuest. They weakened everything. By introducing many ways to teleport, they made it stop feeling like a single world and turned it into a collection of different game maps. To sell new content, they made the old maps provide significantly less experience points but did not make the new maps interesting. By introducing too many features without maintaining the atmosphere, they changed a Lord of the Rings feeling into a junkyard feeling. Story 15. So I installed 7 Days to Die at the start of my 3-week vacation after quite a few years. I don't think I will play it ever again. It is just way too grindy now. You need to find so many magazines. It sucked all the fun out of the game for me. Story 16. Counter-Strike. Global Offensive removed Team Deathmatch in Counter-Strike 2. We used to play that every Friday at 4 p.m. as a team. It is disappointing. Story 17. Cities Skylines 2. Not strictly the developers, but their management and their corporate overseer paradox. They announced the version 1.0 release with much fanfare and, of course, garnered a huge number of sales, only for players to find it was actually barely an early access release, full of bugs and missing features. 1 year later, the game still lacks some of the advertised features. Unforgivable profiteering. Story 18. I wish I could say Pokemon, but I know I will never be able to resist buying newly released main series games. Story 19. Lorem ipsum dolor sidamet, consectetur adipissing illit. Morris lacus nec, posuere et bibendum a, labortis casnisi. Proin iaculus. Story 20. Occasionally, during my work breaks, I play Microsoft Spider Solitaire. The commercials can be annoying, and I am thinking of switching to another game. Story 21. Summary of the Warcraft 3 Reforged drama for people who don't understand why we're upset. For people who haven't heard or don't know what is going on with the release of Warcraft 3 Reforged, here is a summary. Warcraft 3 was originally released in 2002 and quickly became one of the fastest-selling PC games, with over 1 million copies sold. It became one of Blizzard Entertainment's core games, with a strong competitive scene that is still active, while building a large amount of hype for the eventual release of World of Warcraft. In 2018, Blizzard Entertainment announced the development of Reforged, an improved edition of Warcraft 3 that retained the original gameplay while adding new features including a complete overhaul of the game's visuals. Their many unfulfilled promises include improved visuals and new animations. There are no new animations, and the new visuals are not a significant upgrade. Additionally, to get most of the new multiplayer models, players must buy the more expensive edition. 4 hours of reforged cutscenes. Only minor improvements were made to the cutscenes. In fact, Blizzard removed a pre-made cutscene shown at BlizzCon 2018 from the reforged release version. Updated user interface. Not delivered. Balance changes. Not delivered. Matchmaking ladder system. Not delivered. Quality of life improvements, such as selecting more than one page of units in the campaign, not delivered. As if it was not bad enough that Blizzard Entertainment essentially scams some of its oldest fans who had waited 2 years for the release of Reforged, there are several things that are objectively worse than in the original game. It is important to note that Blizzard removed the option to download the Classic client from Battle.net and forced owners of Classic to update to the Reforged client. Here are some other issues Blizzard caused. Matchmaking no longer works properly. Games are found but do not start, forcing client restarts. Game wins are occasionally not recorded. Campaign missions occasionally fail to load, immediately give the player a defeat upon loading, or delete save files from Classic entirely. Custom games appear to be broken, with players unable to create lobbies and games disconnecting randomly and frequently. The forced update removed the classic Frozen Throne title screen, which upset many players. The new title screen background process runs continuously, consuming more than 300 megabytes of RAM and using over 5% of an Intel Core i7 processor's CPU load, severely impacting performance on older computers. In an attempt to improve performance, shadows were completely removed from the game for players who do not own the Reforged upgrade. As if it could not get worse, the real issue lies in the updates to the end-user license agreement. Blizzard Entertainment updated the terms and conditions to include a clause giving them full and exclusive rights to any Warcraft 3 custom games, and forced all players to agree to it via the update. This is a severe blow to the modding community, which consists of people who have spent hundreds of hours using their expertise to create free content for Blizzard's game. Many custom games that are over 10 years old have now been taken from their creators and claimed by Blizzard. It appears Blizzard's ability to create original games has diminished so much that they must rely on profiting from modders creating the next Defense of the Ancients. This has ended my respect for Blizzard Entertainment as a company. They used to represent the pinnacle of an AAA game production studio, consistently releasing well-made, beautiful, and complete games. Now they rely on recycling old concepts, producing a declining quality product, in an attempt to make money before being forgotten in the Activision Blizzard graveyard. Summary: Blizzard Entertainment spent 2 years developing an update for an 18-year-old game, making many promises they failed to deliver on. They ended up essentially breaking the game and forcing the new version on everyone, including those who did not want it. They also claimed all intellectual property from modders. Story 22. FIFA/Electronic Arts Football Club. They ran it straight into the ground and kept drilling. Such a miserable experience to play. Story 23, NBA 2K Series. Microtransaction-based game for multiplayer, pay to win to the maximum. They push players heavily to buy clothes or items just for appearance that do not actually help gameplay. They keep removing features from the single-player story mode, My Career. There is no story anymore, no college or high school games, and no actual draft. Features for single-player My GM or whatever it is now keep getting removed, or the mode itself is not fully playable until later in the season. Trade mechanics are absolutely terrible and unrealistic even with extensive slider adjustments. Story 24, Call of Duty. I loved the original Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, etc. They added skill-based matchmaking in the recent games, and it really frustrates me because if I do well in one or two games, the rest of the night is full of people who dominate me. I can't just casually play and relax. Story 25. A game I will play because the developers are amazing. No Man's Sky. Story 26. Hearthstone is absolutely ridiculous in 2024. Almost all decks do not care or react to the opponent. They just do their thing, and if they draw well, they win. Currently, the most popular deck can get a 4-5 and 4-3-6s on the board on turn 4 consistently. If that happens, the game is over. Story 27. I reached Grandmaster during the Overwatch 1 days and played with many of the top streamers and content creators in the game at that time. They ruined many of the heroes in Overwatch 2 that made the game special and fun to play. Story 28. Clash Royale. I played it for 5 years, 3 years consistently and 2 years on and off, but I quit this year because it became full of stacks of cards to buy in the shop, which is basically pay to win. It is completely different from the game it used to be. Story 29. Final Fantasy XIV. The past 2 expansions have homogenized the jobs, classes, too much. They have turned one of the more complex classes into a simple one, and most damage per second jobs play like they are mindlessly spamming filler until the 2-minute cooldown. All the tanks play similarly except for the Gunbreaker's damage rotation, and the healers suffer from this too. As someone who has played this game since before it was popular, it feels like the developers do not care about the players who enjoyed learning the intricacies of the classes. Instead, they focus on appealing to new players by trying to make the classes play in a simplified manner. Story 30. Pokemon. I used to play every Pokemon game I could get my hands on. Now, the only one I have bought in the past 8 years is Pokemon Legends Arceus. I do love that game, but there are still many issues that Game Freak should have been able to improve. They have the money and the resources but refuse to put in the love and care that a game requires. Saddens me greatly. Story 31. Sometimes, when I have downtime at work, I play Microsoft Spider Solitaire. The advertisements can be incessant, and I am considering other games to play. Story 32. Final Fantasy. Too many role-playing games are becoming action games, and I hate it. Story 33. Fallout 76. When they added non-player characters, the game felt like a flawed but fun cooperative Fallout game. In the years since, they have turned it into a glorified mobile game. Story 34. Wow. I came back after about 10 years, and everything felt meaningless. It was too easy to do anything, and there was chaos at the same time. Story 35. World of Warcraft used to be a game in which every member of the party needed to communicate and work together to finish a dungeon. Now it is just third-person Diablo. Run through a dungeon in 5 minutes, no rolls, no coordination. Just dull. Story 36. World of Warcraft. They turned it into a brain-numbing, no-think, instant gratification jump game. It is barely a full step above a cheap mobile game these days. Story 37. Call of Duty. I played up until the new Modern Warfare came out. Having to spend literal days waiting for it to update 100 gigabytes at a time ruined the experience. I spent 2 weeks trying to play it until I gave up and have not touched any new Call of Duty game since. I used to love playing the campaign stories over and over, especially Black Ops 3 cooperative story with my wife. Story 38. Day R was a mobile game with a huge map that I was totally addicted to. I used to grind countless hours, storing all kinds of supplies outside of every town for pickup later. Then they updated the game. All the work I put in was gone, and now everything involves microtransactions. It has become a joyless cash grab. Story 39, Star Wars, The Old Republic. I understand why the developers did what they did, but the game turned into one big disappointment the last time I tried to play it. I had a problem with around 1000 in the game. Story 40, Ark Survival Evolved. Between the developers and Snail Games pulling their mistakes, I have walked away. Shame, it was one of my most played games, and I ran a private server for years. Story 41, The Sims 4. Modders do everything better than the developers. The game is constantly buggy. Even packs that are almost a decade old still have issues. I dislike the Electronic Arts app as well. I prefer to play The Sims 2 and The Sims 3 instead. Story 42, Escape from Tarkov. I have played it since its release. It is an amazing game. However, I cannot support the developers anymore. I would probably still play it if it were not for the war in Ukraine and the poor decisions made by the developers. Story 43. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds could not keep me playing after they added bots. I played to compete against the best real human players, not computer-controlled bots. Story 44. I used to play National Hockey League for hours, and now the game is just so bad I don't even buy them anymore. I am the biggest hockey fan in the world, and I cannot even enjoy the only hockey video game on the market. Story 45. I am so heartbroken by what Blizzard did to Heroes of the Storm. Story 46. Overwatch. The announcement that they were canceling the Player versus Environment campaign was the final nail in the coffin for me. Story 47. Wow. And in particular, the Death Knight class. How is the Blood specialization the one for tanking? That makes no sense. The Frost specialization is right there. Frost armor, ice shield, frozen solid as a defensive cooldown, etc. I'm still very upset about it. Story 48. Overwatch. Went from a game I play almost every day to a game I have played once or twice in nearly 3 years. Not playing Overwatch 2. Story 49. Old Rust. Too much clutter in the new one. If anyone knows where an Old Rust server is, please let me know. Story 50. Okay, I didn't stop and they didn't ruin it, but my mom was obsessed and did stop because of a development change. Traveler's Rest. I've had it a long time and have loved watching it change and grow. I got my mom into it 1 to 2 years ago. She loved it, was obsessed, hoarded everything in the game, and made a beautiful garden by planting stuff everywhere. The way the recipes and cooking worked was really cool and special. You could build them yourself so everything could be unique and personalized, like putting mango or tea in your beer or meat stew for certain flavor profiles or to match certain trends. They eventually removed that and simplified it to what all the other Stardew Valley game loop games have for cooking, just recipes with requirements. They also changed the gardening and growing system a few times. While the final product might be an improvement, it meant that all my mom's freeform gardening around the map was not only undone but now not allowed by the game at all, making it feel more restrictive and less cool or unique. It's more developed and polished now but lost some of its charm and what made it stand out from others and feel really special. It's still not done, and I'm still excited to see what they do with it. But the direction it has taken has overall made it less exciting and unique. Story 51. All of Blizzard's intellectual properties have declined due to corporate greed. Such a shame. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.